Hey there. Today I want to talk about 16th note rhythms on the organ. One of the most fun things that you can do on the organ is when you can start using this as a rhythm instrument, not just as like a pad holding chords, when you can actually start doing all that fun funk stuff, and it just works so well in so many different styles of music. It's actually pretty easy. It just might take you a minute to get it under your hands. I grab a lot of my rhythms and a lot of the teachings for this from funk grooves. I love James Brown, I love Sly and the Family Stone, I love Parliament Funkadelic. One thing that I noticed early on in my musical development when listening to James Brown is that if you listen to the guitar part at the beginning of one of his songs and then you scrub through the track to 7 minutes into the song, the guitar player is playing exactly the same part through the whole song. And part of the cool thing about playing rhythms or being a rhythm guitar player or a rhythm organ player, in this case in a band, is just holding down a groove and just playing the same thing through the whole song. That's what makes people want to dance. That's what makes people want to move, is they can grab onto that part that you're playing again and again. It's just so much fun. One of the ways that I do this, and I'm going to try to break this down, is that I take this exactly the same chord between both of my hands, 1 octave apart. One of the chords that's used a lot in funk music is called a sharp 9 chord. Now I'm going to work in the key of D today. The sharp 9 chord on the organ that I use is voiced like this. It goes an F sharp on the bottom, a C in the middle, and an F natural on the top. Now, it might seem kind of weird because when you put an F and an F natural together in the key of D, it creates this sound, which is kind of like the minor and the major, but when you spread it out and voice it like this with the major 3 on the bottom and the flat 3 on the top, it actually sounds really cool. That, to me, is one of the sounds of funk music, of James Brown. I love this one. So what I do is I take exactly the same chord and I shape it in both of my hands. The thing is, though, is when I play my left hand, I'm not actually going to play the notes. I'm just going to kind of hit the organ like this, which just gives it this attack kind of sound. Just this. K. Just like that. But I do try to get it relatively in the same shape of the right hand chord, because I just find that it translates better, it just sounds better. If I was to go down here and go, it doesn't quite sound as good as when you get exactly the same chord 1 octave away. Just like that. And the main thing that I do is I keep my left hand really, really loose like this. My wrist is very loose when I play. And the way that I do this is I go 1 in my right hand and 2 in my left hand. The one that I play in my right hand actually does play the chord. And it's kind of a little bit longer, so it's a long one in the right hand and short ones in the left hand. It almost sounds like a wah pedal on a guitar when you get going with it. It's really, really funky. You could turn the Leslie on fast and do it that way too. I'm going to do some variations of this 16th note pulse. So right now I'm going 1 in the right and 2 in the left. Super fun. The next thing that I'll do is I will take and I will start moving the rhythms around between my hands and putting the 16th notes in different places. It doesn't really matter where you put them, just as long as you're doing 16th notes. 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a. So I might take something like this. It's a great James Brown rhythm. that one down. You can really start having fun with it because you can just experiment kind of putting your notes or your chords in different places between the hands. You might have noticed that in that example I did a side step. I went up to an E sharp 9 chord. An E sharp 9 chord is voiced like this: G sharp, D with a G on top. Or 3, flat 7, flat 3 in the key of E. Looks like that. Here's the first chord, the D sharp 9, F sharp, C, F, and I go up to an E, which is G sharp, D, and G. I'm kind of... Now these funk rhythms, you don't specifically have to use sharp 9 chords. You could use whatever chord it is that you want. You could use a D7 chord, which is D, F sharp, A, C. You could use an inverted fifth, which is a really great way to do it and sounds awesome, which is just, if we were in the key of D, which would be a D with an A on the bottom, which is the fifth of D. An inverted fifth because it's upside down. One thing that I love to do with 16th note rhythms too is I love to use inverted fifths, and I love to use them on the minor pentatonic scale. Minor pentatonic scale in D is D, F, G, A, C, and D. So what I'll do is I'll create inverted fifths on that scale. D, the fifth on the bottom, F with its fifth on the bottom, G with its fifth on the bottom, A with its fifth on the bottom, C, the fifth on the bottom, back to D. And I will use these within the rhythm like this. It's all about just where you place the 16th notes, but it's always going 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E, and it's always doing the same pulse. That's what funk music is. It's just all about 16th note pulse, and that's what I apply to these organ rhythms, and I hope that they'll work for you. I hope you enjoyed these 16th note rhythms. Have fun with them, experiment with them, be creative, do your thing, get your groove on.